An atmosphere of imminent triumph permeated the bridge. I'll have the bar set up. Good idea. Please be prepared to set aside the 400-year-old wine from your collection. It's a dreamy escape to celebrate the Empire's shame. If it had been an hour, the sediment in the wine would have sunk. Well, leave that to me. Give me one too. A beautiful girl with long dark purple hair tied back into a single ponytail had unknowingly taken her seat next to Faraga as an adjutant. When exactly did she start sitting here? No, rather. The other party was wearing a military uniform, a dress that didn't match her age. However, the seemingly serious military uniforms can contrast with the vulnerable aura of a young girl. Faraga cringed at his own carelessness. He was negligent in confirming that he would win. It's not just Faraga, it can be applied to all the soldier generals present. It was only when these soldiers and their generals were not on guard that the girl was able to invade. Who are you? Where does she invade from? And what is the purpose of the mating? To say whether she was an enemy or one of her own would certainly qualify her as such. Faraga didn't think the maiden would answer honestly. No. Then it's okay to give me tea. I've been visiting on the side and feel thirsty. Hearing Faraga ask who was coming, the men on the bridge turned their heads. Next, they found the maiden and were surprised to find her eyes wide open. Not only the ships, but also the inside of the ships are also ranged with barriers. However, no abnormality was detected. The maiden took it for granted and just stayed there. I'm asking what you are. Faraga slowly stood up and came face to face with the maiden. Then draws his gun and asks the same thing again. Even so, the maiden continued to laugh. Even when a gun was pointed at her, she still didn't consider it a threat. After all, this maiden's real face is. Who am I, you ask? My name is Ultima. It is a very important and precious name given to me by Lord Remur. Because she is one of the strongest forces in this world, the purple primordial. Your name is Ultima. Haven't even heard of it. Yeah. You are so ignorant. I've come to ask a lot of questions today, and it doesn't look like it's worth expecting. What did you say? Because you're going to die soon, right? So until then, I hope you can reveal all sorts of information to me. With an innocent smile, Ultima said so. Seeing Ultima pose in such an attitude, Faraga had an unspeakable feeling in his heart. It was similar, that's right. It was like facing those high-ranking members of the Imperial Emperor's Order of the Near Guard, who absolutely existed, and maybe this girl's sense of oppression was even stronger. Hard to believe. I lost to the other side in terms of stamina. I'm so afraid of such a young girl. Faraga began to doubt his instincts. Her name is Ultima. Even I shuddered at the sight of such a magical creature, and I didn't expect the Intelligence Bureau to fail to grasp this figure. She's an ace, I'm afraid. It must be a high-level magical creature that belongs directly to Veldora. That must be right. She was a subordinate that had only recently been named. Pointing the gun at Ultima, Faraga opened his mouth to question. I get it. You're from the demon race, aren't you? Wow, that's awesome. That's the right answer. As if to say that's par for the course, Faraga snorted. To be able to exude such a strong evil aura must be a high-ranking demon general. And it's still a monster that gets a name for flesh. The question is what class Ultima is. She's definitely an aristocrat. That's okay if it's below the Middle Ages, but if it's an older species, it might be a struggle to deal with. No, in this case, we have a way to seal the demon's stunt. Demons who can't use magic are nothing to fear. Thinking about this side, Faraga secretly gave instructions to the ministry. He wanted his men to launch a magic vein disruption radiation on the inside of the warship. Glancing at the gun in his hand, he sneaked his hand up to the sword hanging from his waist. Then to distract Ultima, continued the conversation with her. It's surprising that Veldora has a demon like you as a subordinate. Lord Veldora's subordinate. You don't have to hide it. In that case, there's no other reason than to come to the rescue of the Master. No. I am a loyal servant of Lord Remur. She's under the demon Lord Remur. No, her goal must have been to save Veldora. It is true that there is no mention in the report that Veldora had a subordinate on this matter. But it didn't matter if the demon lord's men were still Veldora's men. That's rude. So, you're here to save Veldora, right? What have you been saying since just now? I just said I was coming to ask about something. Don't you people listen to people? It seems the two sides are talking about the same thing. Is it a bluff? I don't think there's any need to hide it, but what's this guy's purpose? Faraga worried if he had gotten something wrong. An unspeakable uneasiness rose in his mind, a feeling that had disturbed him. He felt like he was making a big mistake. So, what do you want to ask? Hearing these words, Ultima, as if she had been waiting for this moment, smiled and then spoke with a smile on her face. The construction of this ship and the way it is used is a major focus. Also exploring the remaining war power in the Empire in passing. And how many strong men there are on your side, as far as you know, just admit it. To pose such an innocent attitude is simply to rag on a small view. You underestimate us, so just so. I'll admit she's a little tricky, but what can the other person do when they're alone? As unsettling as it was, these were Faraga's genuine thoughts. Ha, you think we're gonna tell the truth? I don't think so, but it doesn't matter. Let's forget about that. Is the tea ready yet? I've been waiting. Forget the tea, I'll serve you something better. Seeming to have shaken off all the confusion, Faraga pulled the trigger. Bullets were fired, and that became the signal for war to begin. The place was also affected by the magical disturbing radiation. Ultima sat in her chair as if indifferently. She opened her left hand and let 8 rounds fall with a clatter. Not knowing how she did it without using magic, the bullet lost its physical energy, and Ultima's hand was unharmed. That's a funny toy. But I prefer what Lord Remur has in his hands. Yeah, I'd like to see that. The results were less positive than expected, but Faraga wasn't surprised. He put his gun away and drew the sword that hung around his waist. In addition to being a magical instructor, Faraga's swordplay was also highly skilled. It was just that he didn't deliberately boast about it. He thought to himself that he wouldn't lose to a famous swordsman. It was because Faraga had this ability that he could stay calmly in this environment where magic was sealed. Ultima was no exception, and even with the effects of the mana-disturbing radiation, she was still as unhurried as ever. What's it like to be sealed by someone who's good at magic? Putting on a misguided expression, Ultima crooked her head. Ha, are you in a hurry? The time for chatting is over, demon. The aura on Faraga's body changed abruptly, a tension that was invisible to the naked eye permeating between him and Ultima. Oh, you want to fight me? You don't have to say that. Would anyone be stupid enough to respond to a deal with the devil? Stupid. I say, is this supposed to be about me? Stupid. Don't you even understand that? Then I'll tell you something. It's the strong ones you want to explore, and I'm one of them. While Ultima was talking, Faraga stabbed his sword through in a single breath. This is an expert-grade spike. The stab at Ultima's heart, even if the opponent was a demon, it couldn't avoid it, it was a surefire blow. However, the sky is the limit. I'll kill you last. A voice came from behind Faraga. Faraga's surefire strike couldn't even touch Ultima, who was originally sitting on a chair, only poking a hole in the chair. Since you don't want to talk to me, that's okay. But when I ask a question, you have to give me the answer. Rest assured. Even if you don't tell me, I can take knowledge at will. With an innocent smile, Ultima looked around at the general soldiers watching, then announced in a voice that was unnervingly frightening. Then we'll start with you. Huh? Faraga turned his head in a panic as some sort of circular object flew past him. Pop chop, that thing hit the wall and made a puddle on it. That thing is a human head to be exact. One of the adjutants lost everything from the neck up, and then, as if suddenly remembering that he had lost his head, he fell to the ground with a jerk. How could? Looks like he doesn't know much information. Hurry up and find the next one. Once that was said, Ultima casually twisted the head of the enemy soldier general, played for a few seconds and then dropped it, starting to repeat the matter over and over. One by one, the fallen appear. The bridge was suddenly hell, filled with shrieks and fear. Pop, 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 pop. Make contact with the other ships and focus around our command ship. The wizards went into a state of panic from fear, and immediately came to their senses upon hearing Faraga say so. Everyone hurry and follow the order. This mana disruptor is your new weapon, isn't it? Theoretically, to hinder magic by firing a jumbled number of commands at the magic element. It does have an effect on magical things, but do you guys think it will work for me? Lovingly tilting her head, Ultima mumbled out her doubts. Like in response to her, Faraga shouted. A bluff. Don't think you can bluff your way through. Well, I guess you don't understand. If the flesh is made up of monstrous beasts and so on, one can expect to play to great effect. But don't you think there's no point in doing that when you've already acquired flesh like me? What did you say? Also, if it's a lower order demon, it doesn't mean anything to a higher order demon, does it? Just as you would naturally breathe, we can naturally generate magic as soon as we are aware of it. Just like this. Ultima disappeared without a trace as soon as the words were spoken. At the same time, the head communicator sitting in the last position flew out with it. This is what Ultima made by moving in a flash. See? Just now I just moved and this man's head flew off. It's beyond the speed of sound, but it doesn't send out shock waves or anything, right? Because I move like this by magic. And then there's. Ultima flicked her wrist. The front of the fingertips seemed to blur for an instant. Immediately followed by a bang, and with that impact, the adjutant standing beside Faraga lost his head. It's easy to follow the laws of physics like this and send out shock waves. Ultima spoke innocently while not changing her face to commit this cruel act. It doesn't look guilty at all. How could? The pale Faraga began muttering to himself. He found no chance of beating Ultima, no matter how much he struggled. So it was decided not to keep it any longer, and to use the slayers used specifically to deal with demons. Don't get cocky, you damn demon. The spear summons the flaming giant come, flaming high spirit of the origin. Only heroic characters can use this most powerful summoning magic. Destroying the bridge, the flaming giant descended upon it. If it was a high-ranking spirit with an advantage relative to a demon, even an opponent who was a high-ranking demon general could defeat it. Sure of being able to do so, Faraga yelled at Ultima. I admit you're a monster. But we've been doing research on demons, so we also have a foolproof response. It's a pity that even you're going down. Even after hearing Faraga's high voice, Ultima still had a smile on her face. A smile he didn't think it was such a terrible thing to experience for the first time in Faraga's life. No way. That's not possible. There's no way she can defeat the flaming giant we summoned. The flame giant summoned by Lager was being infused with power by 50 wizards through magic enhancement cannons. Yet the fear in Faraga's heart is hard to erase. It is only to summon such scum, not to get carried away. Well, I'm at it with a kind smile on my face. You'd better be honest with yourselves. Otherwise you will taste the despair. Ah, this is the end. Faraga understood. It's a gut feeling. And his instincts were right. The next second, right in front of Faraga's eyes, the flame giant, the embodiment of absolute power, froze to pieces. As if in a breath change, Ultima unleashed the elemental magic frozen hell without chanting through it. Then I'll move on to the questions. Ultima, who could be said to have a very cheerful voice, became the last words those poor people heard. In a few minutes. The smiling Ultima nodded. She was very happy to have all the information she wanted to know. Although there was no way to seize all the knowledge, sensing human brain waves for intelligence was easy for Ultima. Then she looked to the one who was still alive. That man is Faraga. In the midst of this desperation, Ultima had no choice but to spare Faraga. The reason is certainly not of the compassionate kind. You called me a fool, so I'm going to take the greatest fear and give it to you as a gift. If you try, maybe you'll survive. Try to struggle. Ultima thus proclaimed was like a whisper, while unleashing a spell. A fist-sized pitch-black karma flame appeared in her left hand. Ah. Faraga knew such things. Abyss core. This uncontrollable hellfire occurs when some kind of magic is unleashed. It is said to be uncontrollable by humans and is a kind of extreme magic. Ultima threw something like that out with ease. Then take care of yourself. Goodbye. With these words, Ultima left the bridge. Faraga, who had been thrown down, stood there dumbfounded. What exactly is Ultima's true identity? That question is no longer important to the present Faraga. As he suffered the black flame core baptism, Faraga knew that his life was coming to an end at this time. Then after waiting for Ultima to fly away, the black fireball immediately devoured the command ship. That fireball expanded massively and then exploded, turning into the ultimate destruction magic nuclear flame. And Faraga, who was forced to stay. It's beautiful, this is magic at its best. A trance-like expression came over his face, the black flames burning his body. Faraga, while savoring the despair of being surrounded by extreme magic, and the good fortune that comes with that, comes to the end of his career. The air combat flying corps he led was completely destroyed by the flame of destruction, leaving not even a trace. So, before the original Imperial assassins, the Air Combat Flying Corps, had even fought with Veldora, all the ships were destroyed in the blink of an eye, defeated and left with a discredited record.